Why is Teesta River suddenly back in the news headlines? Why China is taking so much interest in the Teesta River development project, and because of the involvement of China in the Bangladesh, should India be worried about such project? Let us try to decode this and understand in more detail. So the reason why we are discussing about it, because recently Chinese ambassador to Bangladesh has showed renewed interest in the Teesta development project. The project was already in discussion when Muhammad Yunus was leading the country as an interim government, and again because we know that recently elections have just taken place in Bangladesh, new government has already been instituted under the leadership of Tariq Rahman. So China is trying to build and ensure that the impetus that was given to bilateral relationship of both countries continuously progresses further up. It also follows Bangladesh's new parliamentary. This development has come after the Bangladesh's new parliamentary election, and not only the Chinese ambassador to Bangladesh, but also Chinese Premier Li Qiang has sent a congratulatory message to the Tariq Rahman, and he has signaled renewed China-Bangladesh engagement. We know that during the interim government of Bangladesh, we have seen Muhammad Yunus was leading the country away from the orbit of India and more was inclined to develop good relationship, strengthen relationship with China and Pakistan, so that we can say impetus that was given to relationship, China is expecting to continue in the new leadership as well. Now, as far as the Teesta River project is concerned, if you look at the background, it has been something that is a long discussed comprehensive management and restoration project. Basically, the project aims to ensure that the flooding of river can be controlled. It also ensures development of natural embankments or levees, we can say, along the bank of the river, and thus through this Teesta River can be ensured to provide facilities to the farmers of the region, drinking water facilities, at the same time minimizing the losses due to the flooding there. At the same time, dredging and development of riverine port might also be a part of this project. It has been under negotiation for several years between both China and Bangladesh. Negotiations actually began during the time of Sheikh Hasina regime itself as such. China, again, it has shown willingness to implement this project based on the priority that Bangladesh has assigned to this project as such, and it also focuses upon water management and the restoration of river also at many places where large volume of sediment has been accumulated. So dredging work can be also carried out here. It is also an example of diplomatic signaling because elections have been termed as smooth and orderly. Whenever China has released a statement about Bangladesh politics, Bangladesh election, it has said that election was something that was conducted in smooth and orderly nature. That clearly means China is supporting and strongly backing the new government itself, and China has stated that it would it would basically respect the policy of Bangladesh first that was taken during the last administration. It will keep on continuing high-level exchanges, it is expected in the future as well, and relations are entering a more promising phase. At least that's what Chinese administration and Chinese media are trying to portray here. So, involvement of China, embedding of China in the infrastructural project of Bangladesh is not something which we can consider as a new strategy. China has been doing so with many countries in the region itself, such as Bangladesh. Before Bangladesh, we have Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Maldives, and even many African countries as well. So the development of China, a new development of China in Bangladesh, is nothing but extension of same. Many experts argue that it is nothing but part of the expansion of the Belt and Road Initiative that China unveiled a few years back as such. So one of the connecting link will pass through Bangladesh also, and through Bangladesh, if China is able to get its foothold, it will have access to the Bay of Bengal. Keep in mind, China is also trying to develop infrastructure project through the Myanmar, through which it can also access to the Bay of Bengal as such. So both of these projects will be complementing each other, and China is trying to grow stronger foothold in the Southeast Asia as well as South Asia. 51 years of diplomatic ties have been completed between both countries, so equal and mutually beneficial cooperation. This is what Chinese Premier has sent a message through diplomats, that China is looking for equal and mutually beneficial cooperation with Bangladesh. Now obviously this is the term that China uses, but overall we see that many times many countries get trapped in the debt whenever they ask China for the help in the infrastructure development, and the best example of that we can see in the case of Sri Lanka, where Hambantota port, that is where China invested massively. Later on, China in Sri Lanka got trapped in the debt diplomacy. So elevate comprehensively strategic partnership, that is the overall objective of Li Qiang's strategic messaging. Now, as far as the Belt and Road dimension is concerned, if you take a look at the map here, we can see Teesta River originates from Shoal Glacier of Sikkim, then it flows through Sikkim flows through part of West Bengal and then enters Bangladesh. And while entering Bangladesh, it joins river Jamuna, which is river Brahmaputra, and thus then combined water flow flows out in the Ganga Brahmaputra delta in the Bay of Bengal region. So Teesta project has been linked to the BR engagement as we have discussed before. Focus has been infrastructure, water management, expanding China's footprint in Bay of Bengal, and it is also part of strategic infrastructure diplomacy as such. Now it will have huge strategic implications for Bangladesh also, because it will lead to diversification of partnership. As we have discussed, that one of the major problem that India had to face in the last administration was the most of the policies, or many of the policies we can say that Bangladeshi government took, was seen as anti-India policy and was favoring more Pakistan and China as such. So there is a greater geopolitical leverage that Bangladesh is trying to enjoy because of its strategic location as such, and at the same time new administration also has said that it would treat all of partner equally, it will not take any pro or anti stance. So in the new administration also it is expected that Bangladeshi government would want to balance both India and China and would try to strengthen economic cooperation with both of the countries as such. Regional geopolitics, the same. China is expanding influence in South Asia. Bangladesh is key to Bay of Bengal region as far as China is concerned, and becomes vital for India also, because if you look at the location of this entire region, so this is Northeast India, and then here you have Bangladesh. So any involvement of China in the infrastructure project in Bangladesh, any addition of China in terms of its infrastructure, in terms of its equipment, manpower and all that, would directly threaten the Siliguri corridor. This is a narrow corridor that connects mainland India to Northeast India, and on one side you have Bhutan and Tibet, other side you have Bangladesh. So very, very strategic area. That's why India always keep an eye out for any development that happens in this region. Now the biggest question is that should India be worried, because China has shown its willingness to develop Teesta River, develop infrastructure project over Teesta River and all that. So the reason is why we should be worried. First of all, we cannot say that India should be worried, but definitely there is a concern, and the concern is because of the river itself. We know that Teesta originates in Sikkim and then flows into Bangladesh as such. And many times we have seen there is a water dispute between India and Bangladesh over the sharing of Teesta river water. Especially if talk about the state of West Bengal is largely involved here. So India-Bangladesh water pact still remains unresolved. And in this context, developing any infrastructure project on Teesta would add to the woes. Similarly, Chinese involvement increases the leverage for Bangladesh, and strategic sensitivity near Siliguri corridor, as we discussed, will also increase. India would have to ensure that its interest or its security interest is not jeopardized. Its security interest and any kind of threat to its unity and integrity should be properly repelled as such. Other reason is, if try to think it from the perspective of the economy. So even though China is trying to involve itself in Bangladesh in development of many infrastructure projects, whether it is civilian infrastructure or defense infrastructure, we know that few weeks back China also signed a deal to develop drones or manufacture drones in Bangladesh. So Bangladesh remains, even though these things are going on, one thing you have to understand is that Bangladesh remains India's one of the largest South Asia trade partner. Both countries have developed a bilateral trade of very good significant volume, and they also enjoy a strong connectivity and defense ties. This was true during the Sheikh Hasina regime, but now as we know that in the last interim government led by Mohammad Yunus, we have seen a lot of political shift, diplomatic shift taking place in China, in Bangladesh as such. So somewhere we are seeing Dhaka is trying to balance India, China, Pakistan and US, but the most interesting thing to see is how this new government then carry forward the affair of the diplomacy or political affair as such. And it is not necessarily zero-sum competition that if China start to develop this project, India would definitely be on losing side. This is not a zero-sum game. So even though China develop infrastructure project, the actual effect on India would be limited as far as if any security implications are not seen there. What are the strategic responses for India? So accelerate Teesta water sharing resolution. We know that the major dispute, we already had a boundary dispute with India and Bangladesh, that resolved largely in 2015 when we signed Indo-Bangladesh this border cooperation as such, or Indo-Bangladesh, we can talk about the enclave exchanges. But Teesta water sharing still remains unresolved issue. So deepen connectivity and maritime cooperation, that's also is a common area of interest that we share. Strengthen neighborhood first diplomacy that we already are following, and the extension of activist policy can be seen here as well. And right now is a right time because the new administration under Tariq Rahman, they have clearly shown a willingness that they want to engage India in a constructive manner. They do not want to have any anti-India approach, and also Tariq Rahman has clearly given a signal that they do not want to ruffle any feathers in neighborhood, and would also be focused on inclusive governance rather than giving rise to Islamist tendencies. And also this provide a good opportunity for India, and also Prime Minister of India was invited in the swearing in ceremony. So all this kind of positive signal or shift we can see definitely from compared to the last regime. So it provides a sustainable alternatives, provides the alternative for India to engage with the new government, and at the same time for Bangladesh to also provide sustainable alternative to BRI. India should be willing to provide such kind of help as such. So by doing so, it can be said that India would be able to leverage its position, its geographical position, and the time-tested relationship it has enjoyed with Bangladesh. And we know that India was largely involved in the independence of Bangladesh and formation of Bangladesh as a new nation itself. So all this should be the defining factor as far as India-Bangladesh ties are concerned. The involvement of China in any small scale infrastructure project should not be a big concern, but definitely we should be on alert. That's the overall messaging from this entire discussion. That's all for this particular video. If you like the video, please like it and share with fellow aspirants, as well as subscribe to the channel for more content. Thank you very much.